Hey, welcome to another episode of It Resolves. My name is Kevin.
My name is Will.
And we are here for the Monday Deck Tech episode day. We've got some really cool legacy decks for you today.
And oh boy, was I on a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, you had a rough time with this one.
I've been, I've had a weekend, man.
Yeah, I understand.
With this deck and beyond, and yeah, this episode put me through it.
We'll get to that in a little
tough.
bit. We'll get to the decks in a little bit. We'll talk about... We each picked a legacy deck, so we'll talk about those individually and what we learned from our research. But before that, we want to invite all of you guys to go check out our Patreon page.
Yes.
In saying that, I want to make it very clear, if you do not have the means to donate, or if you don't feel like you want to donate, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
We just appreciate you guys viewing this content. We're going to make this content regardless. But if you do feel like this is something that you want to be a part of in that way, we welcome you to do so. We've got some goals set up and we've got some tiers that you can choose from. We'd very much appreciate any donations that you guys make, and any other feedback, any other viewership, anything like that, we also appreciate just as much.
We've got some goals we want to hit moving forward, not specifically like monetary goals through Patreon, but we have things that we want to do that we know will require funding. And our hope was, and please, if I'm speaking for you, stop me, but our hope was that we are able to support this podcast with the podcast and create some, I'm not going to say higher quality content necessarily, but some more interesting, more compelling content, and maybe get, viewers involved.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that you guys feel like this is a community, the It Resolves community, as much as possible. And the best way we can think of to do that is through Patreon, because it's directly from you guys. We'd be able to fund this show a little bit better, and hopefully do a little bit more interactive activity sort of things. And so
definitely,
if that seems like something that tickles your fancy,
see,
there
I got
it is.
you tickling stuff now.
We'd very much appreciate it. Again, please do not feel obligated to. But we do appreciate you guys checking it out and hopefully hearing from you guys on there.
Absolutely.
With that out of the way, we have the card of the day segment.
Good.
This has become one of my favorite segments, just to see what we get.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Because it could be anything.
Literally any card in Magic is up for grabs
A
here.
great card or Electrickery. Like, who knows? It could be anything.
Hashtag Electrickery is the best card in Magic.
You'll start a riot. Calm down.
All right. Random card of the day in 3, 2, 1.
You just opened a
I just
new
opened a new tab, guys.
All right. The card of the day is the iPhone 7.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boom. See,
Street Wraith. Okay, this is a
anything.
great one. 3 and 2 black
Yes.
for a 3/4 Wraith with Swamp Walk, and you can cycle it by paying 2 life, which means you just discard this and draw a card. This is a great card.
It's amazing.
It's played in things like Living End pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Living End is the most notable that I think of.
I think so. I'm thinking Living End and probably Death Shadow are the two
Death
big
Shadow
ones right now.
it's a good one
pretty
too.
much always been Living End, but I don't think it was always in Death Shadow.
No,
Right.
I think now that Death Shadow, if anybody keeps up with Modern, is really hitting its stride there. Street Wraith sort of had an extra little spike because of that. It's actually now like a $7 common, which is a little insane. But it is a very, very good card, and it's perfect in Suicide style deck lists like Death Shadow.
Especially if you have ways to get it back.
Yeah.
So you could cycle it by paying 2 life.
Yep.
Which is where it helps in with Death Shadow. It's also got Swamp Walk. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
In an aggro deck, you drop it late game, and you've got just a little extra punch.
Yep.
So I like it.
I mean, really, the value in this card is definitely from the cycling. It just plays so well into those decks. But
Absolutely.
you're exactly right. You can play it as a little 3/4 or something like that late game. So a very good card of the day. Wow. I'm pretty happy with that. That's probably the best one we've had.
Way to go, card of the day.
Way to be there.
Hi.
All right. With the card of the day out of the way, we go into our main topic. Again, this is the Deck Tech day. And we've sort of been cycling through a few formats. We're probably going to keep on that train and just sort of cycle through and pick a few deck lists as we go.
I don't know if we'll do it in any particular order, but I think we went,
not.
for a recap, just Modern, Vintage, Legacy,
and
right?
now this is Legacy. So
Which I guess is kind of backwards.
a little
Well,
bit.
not backwards, just disjointed.
Just mixed matched. But
Mishmashed.
I actually really enjoyed this week because I had a deck in mind that I really wanted to do a deck tech for. But I think we'll start with yours. What was your deck list?
So in picking this, we pulled up just legacy decks, and this is one I hadn't seen. I'm not big into legacy, and I don't know if this deck is in many other formats or not. But it's one I've not heard of before. No, Kevin's shaking his head. He doesn't think it is. So the one I went with originally was 4-color Loam.
Yeah.
How'd
that go for you, Will?
I hated this deck. Learning about this deck. Because here's what it did. I'm not going to say, like, I have a great mind for Magic or that I am an expert at this game that we play. But I can at least find a combo, spot it, you know. I know
hey, that's how it wins.
I know how decks work.
Yeah.
Sometimes. There's stuff I miss, but, like...
I get you.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So I look at Loam. And it's got some great cards in it. It's got Liliana of the Veil.
A great one.
Dark Confidant.
Also awesome.
Gadok Teague.
Oh.
Yeah, these great cards. But it didn't do anything. It just had good cards in it.
So, okay,
it didn't do
literally
anything.
Like 2 or 3 days ago, maybe, I caught up with Will and I was like, hey, how's the deck tech going? How are things? And he shook his head in defeat. I was like, dude, what is this? He couldn't find the win.
No, it's except for simply
just powering out winning.
Yeah, except
by
for
like standard means.
Getting lands in your graveyard, pumping Knight of the Reliquary, making sure they can't play a fatty from Teague.
Yeah,
swinging with those guys, getting card advantage from Confidant.
Which so for you legacy players out there, this very much resembles something like a Maverick deck, where it's just sort of the junk good stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it wins, and it's great. I actually really like Maverick quite a lot. This just plays Life from the Loam to get some of that land advantage and play some Wasteland hate, things like that. But I thought it was really funny when you came to me and were like, well, I don't get it. I just don't understand. But it is a good deck. It doesn't have the, like... When you look at legacy deck lists, generally you look and think, okay, how are they going to get Emrakul out? How are they going to do some crazy combo to win?
Right.
So how are they going to storm off? Like, all of those things come to mind. You don't really... Decks like this sort of go under the radar where it's like, this is just a good deck. It's just a solid deck.
Yeah, it's
not like it has the bomb that you're thinking.
I use the phrase horribly consistent in a Friday episode in weeks past. And I mean, that's just what I'll say again. With the card draw you get from Dark Confidant, you can get to stuff easier, and you can just start beating stuff down.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I will say the one combo interaction you have is the Burn Willows
Punishing
Fire. Thank you. Ooh, I'm sleepy. The Burn Willows Punishing Fire combo, which was in most of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a solid combo.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a good one.
Definitely.
It's played in a lot of legacy decks as well.
I mean, it should be, and it's so cheap. You add an instant and a land, and you can have something that can kill.
I think that's the great part about it. It's not... It doesn't take up a lot of slots in your deck. And for something like Life from the Loam, where you're able to sort of pull those lands back, Grove of the Burn Willows is even better in case it gets in that graveyard somehow.
Yeah, which is probably it is a great home for that combo. I think it probably makes it way stronger than other decks necessarily. But that all being said, until really moments ago, I was ready to give up on Loam and just tell you that I hated it until one more quick little internet search led me down a road that I'm excited to be on. And
this is a cool one.
This deck is sweet. It is a combo Loam deck. I think it is still technically 4 colors.
Yeah.
But that's not what they call it. They call it a combo Loam deck. So this freaking deck is fantastic. And it's something that kind of Kevin would really like playing the Lantern Control sort of style things.
Being that guy.
Oh, yeah. Instead of running Knight of the Reliquary, Teague, Scavenging Ooze or stuff, the only creatures are the Dark Confidants, 4 Lilies for Planeswalkers, Your basic 22 lands that you see in most of these decks, the Mire, Badlands, Taiga, Bayou, stuff like that. Blah, blah, blah. I opened a tab and I'm sorry. It sacrifices all those things to add these pieces that control people's draws and hands to just lock them out of the game.
Yeah.
And it looks like it would do it really, really well. It got 17th place at the Legacy Open event 4 years ago for Star City Games. So it was competitive.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
Yes. So it added cards like Chain of Mephistopheles. That's a hard one.
Say that 3 times fast. Not you. You're tired.
That 3 times fast.
All the viewers out there.
Chain of Mephistopheles. Kevin, this was sweet, and this was really got me excited. It is an enchantment, 1 colorless, 1 black. It says every time a player draws a card, that player must first discard a card from his or her hand. If there are no cards in players' hands, take top card from library and place it in the graveyard instead of drawing. This enchantment does not apply to the first card drawn by a player during the draw phase. So
it's a mill engine.
Yes,
is what it is.
For 2.
Yeah,
that's really good. Non-legendary enchantment. You can have 2 of these at once, which would just be nasty. And this really just kicks things off. This is the engine for the deck. Essentially, actually, I think I covered it. That's all.
That's
great.
A lot of it. Yeah,
it just gets so much better with this next one. Anvil of Bogarden. Each player skips his or her discard phase. During each player's draw phase, that player draws an additional card and then chooses and discards a card. So with Anvil and Chain, you have to mill and then discard twice.
Yeah.
So you don't get a draw phase.
You don't get a draw phase.
No.
This locks the opponent out completely of the draw phase.
It for 4 mana collectively, with these 2 cards, you have locked them out of their library.
It's pretty awesome.
That is insane.
It's like, it reminds me a little bit, we've talked about it in the past, of the Leovold and Teferi's Puzzle Box combo.
Yeah.
But just 10 times more efficient, really.
Oh my goodness.
It's so cool. I love this.
I love it. There's also Burning Wish in this deck to just add
just a dirty
more
card.
Crazy stuff, man. This deck is sweet. So they can pull things like Chainer's Edict if they need it, Hull Breach if they need it. We were talking about Burning Wish. Essentially, it is only sorcery cards. But that being said, there are some strong sorceries.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Burning Wish, if you don't know, 1 colorless, 1 red. You may choose a sorcery card you own from outside the game. Reveal that card and put it into your hand, then exile Burning Wish.
Which it should be noted that applies, the outside of the game applies to your sideboard.
Yes, specifically.
Not just like literally any card.
Right. You can't
maybe
have
if you're playing casual, but like in an actual tournament setting, that's just your sideboard.
Yeah. So theoretically, you could have, if you draw a Burning Wish, you could have access to 15 more cards. You could have just drawn 15 cards, which is, that's really cool.
And it's worth saying also, this deck generally runs something like Life from the Loam in the sideboard, which gives you basically like, what, 7 or 8 copies of Life from the Loam in your deck. It just gives you access to all of these cards. And Burning Wish is a classic in Storm and things like that also. It gives you, if you've got all of your Storm cards in your sideboard and maybe only 1 in your main deck, it sort of gives you access to all of them. And that way you don't really have to worry about how you're going to win the game because you can pick and choose.
So with its controlling Anvil and Chains combo, it's of course got other stuff like Lightning Bolt, Abrupt Decay for removal, Hymn to Torok for more discard stuff. And then of course the classic Loam combo with Wasteland to blow up their lands. So really this turns into a control mill deck.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it feels fairly dirty, right? Like you get to sort of mill them out while destroying their lands and like doing all this crazy stuff.
And it makes the Grove combo like it for the deck.
Yeah.
It's more like a Burn Willow's Loam deck, right? Because it's got nothing else. It doesn't beat them down with Night. Like that's its win con. You could, I guess, swing with Confidant, but like,
well, yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
yeah, but that you don't do that. But that's the win con. It's just all about finding it and then just doing it.
Yeah,
which
I like that.
So good.
It feels fairly consistent. We have not played test these decks, but it feels like it would be really consistent, and it just seems like a cool deck. I mean, I keep saying that, but it seems just like this is a deck that was well thought out, well planned, and it seems like it would do fairly well against a lot of decks. Right. It might be a bit slow to things like Burn, just mono red. It runs generally a lot of non-basic lands, so things like Price of Progress really give it a hit. So that's a bit of a problem. But that being said, it's just a cool one. I like it. I mean, it's really, really solid.
I was really, I don't know, I was impressed. And yeah, I instantly said, I want to build this.
Yeah.
I want to make that.
If only we had the money.
Well, true. There's another card I want to bring to the table that works with it. And it was the one that the gentleman was talking about, letting you play cards from another player's hand. Was it Word of Command? Yeah, that's it. So with Word of Command in the sideboard, so with the combo of Anvil and Chains, you do effectively get to technically draw a card to do something.
You do. With. Yeah, you can respond to that.
Yes, if you draw a card and it's something you can use instantly, it might get them out of the thing.
You could Abrupt Decay or something like that.
However, with Word of Command, you may look at opponent's hand and choose any card opponent can legally play using mana from his or her mana pool or lands. Opponent must play this card immediately. You make all the decisions it calls for. That spell may not be countered after you have looked at opponent's hand. That's awesome.
That's insane. Like, you literally just get to nerf them all the time. Like,
yes. So if they draw things like a Brainstorm, they're not going to use it. And this was his example, the man who made this deck. If they draw a Brainstorm, you can Word of Command the Brainstorm and make them essentially mill 3 more cards now.
Yeah.
Really, I guess, no, it would be 3 more.
It would be 3. Yeah. So it gets the engine going really quickly, and it also protects it a little bit.
If they get that cantrip,
For sure.
It can make them, I mean, I guess you could play a Show and Tell.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you would want to if they just draw a Show and Tell.
If they just draw a Show and Tell, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it does seem like a really good way to sort of lock them off of anything. Yeah. And just that combo seems so epic and dirty.
Whoever made this, hats off to you.
Yeah.
It's very fun. I would never want to play against it. I would pull my hair out.
Yeah, I think this would be a really, really frustrating deck, I would say, to play against. And again, having not play tested it, obviously we don't know that for sure. But it just seems like it. It's got so many ways to gain that card advantage and then just mill out the opponent, which is awesome. So it also has Raging Ravine as a sort of secondary win con. You can swing in with that.
Yeah, just in case.
Which tends to get big pretty quickly. So
that's true.
Very good.
I love it. All right. So that was my journey through Loam.
Yeah, you had an interesting week. But
no kidding.
Mine was a little easier because as I said before, I had a deck in mind already that I wanted to do for Legacy. This is a deck that is just silly. But it is also actually fairly good. It's not tier 1, but it's sort of just under that, and it is fairly competitive, and that is Legacy Food Chain. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is a cool deck. A lot of people already know about this deck just because it is a little bit silly. I know the professor from Tolarian Community College, that is like his favorite Legacy deck, I believe. That and Merfolk, if I'm not mistaken.
Fish.
Yeah, Fish.
Good old Fish.
But it is a very cool deck built around the card Food Chain, which, if you do not know already, is 2 and a green for an enchantment. It says that you can sacrifice and exile a creature, and then add mana to your mana pool equal to that card's converted mana cost +1. So basically, you exile the creature on your board, and you get that much mana +1 to your mana pool to play anything else that you'd like.
Yep.
So the combo here is with, there's actually 2 cards it works with now that some of the Eldrazi were printed, but Mist Hollow Griffin is the original, where you pay 2 and 2 blue for a Griffin. It says you can play this card from exile. So the combo being you play it, sacrifice it to the Food Chain.
Right.
It goes into exile. Then you use the mana that you just got from Food Chain and play it again, gaining 1 in net.
Right.
And so you keep doing that over and over to get infinite mana is essentially what it amounts to. The other card that this works with, which was recently printed, is Eternal Scourge, which is just a 3-drop Eldrazi with essentially the same effect.
Yeah.
So
play it from exile.
Yeah. It's a very cool combo, and generally what you would originally do with this mana was play something like an Emrakul, gain just like a huge creature and win, right? Like that was the goal. Lately, these decks have subbed out the Emrakul for a Walking Ballista,
which is so good.
Yeah, I mean this way you're not relying on any attack steps or anything like that. You actually just get to play it and then shoot them for as much as you'd like. Theoretically, infinite damage. So, Walking Ballista is a fantastic addition to this.
It is, yes, it's so good.
Yeah, it makes the deck very consistent, I think, which I feel like this deck was missing just a little bit.
Did you?
I did. With the Emrakul, I think it was sometimes, I mean, there were tutors and things like that.
Sure.
That helped you get there, but it was still a little inconsistent to me. I think this one is a little bit easier. You also get access to things like Trinket Mage, which isn't in every deck list, but Trinket Mage lets you fetch, it's just like a 2/2 for 3, but you get to fetch out your Ballista.
Right.
And so you can play a few of these just to basically give you extra Ballistas in the deck, and make it a little easier. So with that, running through just sort of basic deck lists, generally these run around 19 lands.
Okay.
Which is a little on the higher end for combo decks. Generally they stick between like 14 to 16. This runs a little bit more just because it needs to be pretty consistent and run a lot of fetch lands due to Deathrite Shaman, which is the optimal turn 1 play. Really what you'd like to do is play a fetch land, sack it to get your land out of whatever you'd like, play your Deathrite Shaman, and then turn 2 be able to play another land and play your Food Chain. That's like the optimal start to this deck, which it is fairly consistent in doing that. It's not perfect, but a lot of the games that I was watching, that's what would happen.
Sure.
Let's see, other creatures in this deck, some stuff like Baleful Strix and Leovold, mainly just for card advantage style decks and to nerf some of the draw cards.
Sure.
Which it does a pretty good job at, Leovold being awesome.
Yeah. Well, awesome is
relative, we'll say. But I really like that. It nerfs a lot of the control decks to keep them off of draw cards.
Yes.
It also gives them a target to sort of distract them from the combo,
yeah,
which I think is really nice. A lot of the Sultai color or bug decks will run Leovold.
Just say bug, man.
It's bug. For anybody that says Sultai, you're just wrong. Just say bug.
Yeah.
I can't say you're wrong. You're not actually wrong. But
no, you're technically correct. It just
it just doesn't sound as cool.
No.
It does run a little bit of like controlling aspects and things like that in the way of 4 Force of Wills. Most of them run that. It's a deck that plays blue, and so you're gonna have Force of Wills.
Right, you should.
It also protects the combo and makes it fairly easy to keep that consistent combo going. In the way of draw cards, you get things like Ponder and Brainstorm, which these generally run. Brainstorm being great with fetch lands and with Deathrite. And then Thoughtseize and Abrupt Decay, basically to kill stuff and get problem cards out of the opponent's hand.
Right.
The other really important card in this deck is Manipulate Fate, which is 1 and a blue for a card that basically says pick 3 cards from your deck, exile those cards, and then draw a card. And so what you're able to do with that is get a Mist Hologriffin or a Scourge in your exiled zone. And so if you already have Food Chain, you can just start going off with it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's perfect for this deck. I mean, it really is. It's great. Some optional card advantage cards, things like Sylvan Library, which is seen in a lot of these deck lists, just gives you more access to more cards, right?
Sure.
Which is exactly what combo decks want. And then things like Vendilion Click to interact with the opponent or yourself if you need to sort of get a card out of your hand and maybe pull another. So
definitely.
That's very cool deck. Again, the optimal turn 1 is getting that Deathrite out and being able to Food Chain on turn 2, and then being able to go off on turn 3. And that's really the goal, is to go off, be able to chain all these Hollow Griffins or Eternal Scourges into a Ballista, and then shoot for the win. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's silly. That's all it is.
I don't know if that's silly, though. I think that's wicked smart.
I think it is. I think it's very smart.
It's not silly like Doomsday. We'll say that, right?
Doomsday's a little out there, but it's not super silly in the way that it feels like a very competitive deck. It does fairly well in competitions. And it also, because of sideboard tech and things like that, you can sort of take some of the controlling aspects away, still keep in your aggro elements and your combo elements, and then side in even more aggro elements to sort of make it this aggro deck. And that varies between sideboards, so I'm not going to get into specific cards there, but you're able to do stuff like that with this deck because while it has controlling elements, it's not the full gambit of controlling elements. And vice versa, you can side out some of the Baleful Strixes, things like that, to get some more maybe counter spells in there, misdirections, stifles, things like that.
Yeah.
To give you a more controlling aspect. So this is a very cool deck in that it can switch sort of on a dime in between games, which is great. And it also has a lot. This combo sort of has a lot of protection for itself, in the way of enchantment removal isn't exactly the most prevalent kind of removal.
True. And you rarely actually ever see it in sideboards either.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Things like Abrupt Decay are a problem, obviously. That's the biggest hit to this combo. But that being said, other than Abrupt Decay, there's not so much in the way of removal for enchantments. Mainly, you're worried about counter spells.
Definitely.
But with that also, you have a lot of longevity against some of the aggro decks if you can get this combo out. Because if you just get to play your Griffin, you can play it, block with the Griffin. It goes to exile. You can sack it basically with Food Chain after damage is dealt, and then just keep blocking with it. Like you can do that so much. So creature removal once you have a Griffin or a Scourge out with the Food Chain really doesn't do that much. Path to Exile doesn't matter because you still get to play it. Swords, same. So it's very, very resisted to the creature removal. And things like Baleful Strix and stuff like that, it's really just to keep you alive and give you some card advantage with the draw card effects to get you to this combo. But Baleful Strix does a great job of holding you off against some of those aggro decks as well. It also has a very good matchup against any strong creatures because it has Death Touch. Right. So it's the perfect card for this, and it keeps you in the game when you really need it. So I would actually highly recommend this deck to anybody that wants to maybe try out Legacy. It's not the most expensive deck in Legacy. I mean, it's still really expensive. Sure. Every deck in Legacy probably will be. That's competitive at least.
Fair to say.
But it is a really cool deck. It represents about 2% of the current metagame, so it's not like a hugely prevalent deck, but it also does see some play. And again, it's just fun. So
nice.
I would recommend it.
Well, I like that.
I like it.
Very much enjoyed learning that from you. That was really cool.
Oh, thank you. I do what I can.
Well, no big deal. You pointed out stuff that I did not think of.
Creature removal stuff, right?
Yeah, like you can block infinitely.
It's very cool. I mean, you can't if there are multiple creatures out, you can't block every single creature.
No, right.
But
the same
you
one,
get an infinite creature to block with, right? Like you're gonna nerf a creature no matter what, which is really cool. So I think this deck can be well positioned in a lot of matchups, and it's fairly resistant to a lot of the decks that are out there. So
neat.
Yeah. With that, I think that gets us done with I think that's it for the main content.
Very good.
If you have any Legacy deck suggestions or any deck suggestions at all, put them in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Send us a message, do whatever. We want to hear about them. That way we can feature them on this show. We love doing this every Monday.
Well, I thought so.
Well, until now. But I really like it, actually. I really like going through and finding a deck and being like, yeah, this one, let's figure out some more about it.
That's fun. I just had a heck of a time this week.
Yeah, it was a bit rough. But we do encourage you guys to leave us some feedback. Let us know what decks you want to hear about. And with that, we come to our final segment of today's episode.
Where we are on the hunt.
We are on the hunt. What are you searching for, my friend?
Sir, a combat celebrant.
Ooh, a very cool card.
I mean, yeah. Aggro's big and standard, and
it is.
I want to play standard aggressively. So
fair enough.
Gimme. What you got?
I am looking for the new Gideon of the Trials. Not expecting it to make huge waves, but I just want to see what I can do with it and just play around with it a little bit. It looks like a cool card.
It probably hasn't been utilized to its maximum yet, but even still,
I'm hoping it will at some point.
I don't know what else you can.
I don't think there's a whole lot you can do, but I do want to I just want to see what I can do with it.
Okay, that's fair.
I want to give it a shot.
That's fair, buddy.
So I've got my pack here.
Okay.
Let's see what I got.
What?
No.
Is
No.
this?
We've opened this card, I believe, like twice already.
Oh yeah.
Throne of the God Pharaoh. It's a 2-costed legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control.
That's right.
It's a cool card, but
I was really into this.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, not much to say about it, to be honest.
You don't think so?
I find it less impactful than probably you do.
I think it's so good in like a red-green exert or something. Something that
It gets those last points of damage in, which is important.
Yeah, that might be a little bit slower than, just a mono red, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're okay, so think about it. Think about it with our quadrants here, buddy.
Oh, our quadrant theory.
Right.
Hashtag go watch that episode.
Yeah, that was
because
a fun
that's a good hashtag.
Hashtag go watch that episode. That's not bossy. But no, it is. At the beginning, you just lay it out there.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't impact the game necessarily that much right off in the early game, right? Like
no, unless you're like exerting, I don't know, that the green creature that lets you put creatures on the field. You know which one?
I know which one you're talking about.
I don't remember the name.
I don't either.
I haven't memorized them all yet.
I haven't memorized.
Rememberized them. Ooh.
You heard it here, folks. We invented a new word.
Rememberized. Nah, I've been messing that one up for years, bud. That's not.
It's just because you can't rememberize it.
But it is cool. I'm ignoring that. And if you're winning, it is just it can let you win a turn earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it.
Okay, fair enough.
It would be so
I'm
good.
glad you like it.
If there's a mass token generator, a bunch of 1/1s.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think it's cool in Commander.
Yes.
I think it's great in Commander.
I don't think it's going to see standard constructed play.
No.
But it's just cool.
In Commander, you can get some cool stuff off with this.
All right. So I've been flipping through my pack here.
What'd you get? Did you get your card?
No, I sure didn't. But, I mean, I like this card.
Okay.
Again, I don't
One
think
of the cool Aftermath cards.
Yeah, so I got Prepare and Fight. Prepare to fight,
yes,
you could say. Prepare is an instant, 1 colorless, 1 white. It says untap target creature. It gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink until end of turn.
Okay, fight. Good combat trick.
Oh, well, sure. And there's a little more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Fight says 3 colorless, 1 green. Target creature you control fights target creature and opponent controls.
Oh, yeah. So removal in green is what it
exactly. That's what green has always gotten to get removal.
The fight effects.
I love that in green it revolves around the fat guys. So
I like
the
that too.
big fatties.
Yeah.
So even its removal is all about use your big things to remove stuff. But so the reason I like this card,
okay.
And in Amonkhet you see this a lot. It says untap target creature, which is synergistic with your exert stuff. Boros Exert is kind of making a wave.
Yeah.
So this is just a great way to get either a blocker where they thought they had advantageous combat maybe.
Yep.
You pull Prepare and, well, oh no, I lost a guy and you gained a bunch of life.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe that's one thing. Fight for a Selesnya or Bant what have you deck. You can use it in the same turn, Prepare and Fight for removal.
Yeah.
You can do it on end step if you have that much mana. I don't really see.
I mean, late game, you can maybe do something like that. For sure.
I don't think it's going in many decks, though.
You don't think so?
No, because at its worst, it's just a combat trick.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part about it is that combat tricks, while in limited, can be amazing.
Sure.
I think in constructed formats, they're just not quite. I'm not saying all of them. I think there's a place for them, but I just think that you don't want too many combat tricks. This being probably one of the better ones, just in that
I would think so.
You get to untap, you get to give it that tube boost, and you get lifelink. Yeah. So it's sort of a trifecta of awesomeness for only 2 mana, but it's still at the end of the day a combat trick, right? Like that's a slot that you could be giving to just a better creature.
Right. I mean, and then at fight you just get removal, maybe.
Yeah, and it's a little costly, right? I mean, in standard it's not so bad, but like outside of standard, that's just terrible.
It is when we get Fatal Push and Magma Spray and
that's true.
Harness Lightning and stuff like that,
Yeah,
there's so much better removal. When you might not be in those colors and you might have access to green, but even still,
yeah,
that's
fair. Well, still on the hunt for our goal cards.
Yeah, neat ones though.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to get this Gideon. Again, I want to put it in put it through some trials of its own.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
Dear Magic Marketing, Wizards of the Coast marketing team. We have a
why have you not hired us? No, we
Oh, pick me. I know.
We're really excited to get these goal cards and see you guys on Thursday, I guess is the next day.
Yeah.
For the casual kitchen table day. We will have some games to talk about that we've enjoyed, and
we got some fun stuff planned for that.
Yeah, we do have some fun stuff planned, and hopefully some useful stuff. Again, the casual day is a little more casual, and that we're not like, we're just sort of doing things to do them for fun on that casual day. We're exploring stuff. Finding new decks to make. If you guys have decks that you want to suggest for just casual play, suggest those to us. We'd absolutely love to try them out, and see what we can do with them as well. And after that episode, we have the Friday Standard Limited and then the Sunday Filler Fun Day. So we hope you guys will join us for all of those. I'm holding you guys accountable. We want all of you there for all 3 episodes. That's asking a lot. But with that,
own your content. It's great.
Own your content.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. With that, though, I think we are going to get out of here. My name is Kevin.
My name is Will. I'm going to go take a nap.
This has been It Resolves. Resolves.